Gulbanu Kader is the principal of Rushymede Academy off Belgrave Road in Leicester. They have 1,800 students. Good morning to you, Gulbanu.
Morning, Jimmy.
Good morning. Lovely to talk to you. How's this going to work then for the school?
To try and avoid the staggered start that the gentleman was just talking about beforehand, what we've tried to do is bring everybody on site to get the test one done at least this week. Some of the students will be getting test one and test two done. So what Jeff was talking about in terms of having staggered start, we wanted to try and avoid that. So as soon as the DfE gave us a go-ahead, we start testing today. Students will come in, get a test done, go home, and then wait for the result. And that will try and minimise disruption next week. And we can have all students on site at the same time on Monday, 8th of March.
And who's administering the tests?
We have a combination of people, so we have had to invest in external agencies who we have to pay from our budgets. We've got staff volunteers. We've also got people who have been trained internally on hand so that if we have a huge influx of students that we weren't expecting, because they've had to give consent, but the consent keeps changing every single day. So we have gone from 200 consents to 900 consents in a space of a week. And we expect some students will turn up who, have been, given consent first thing this morning. So we've got a backup plan of a third team on site as well so that we can cope with the numbers. So
this is something you've had to fund then as a school?
Yeah, we have. The external agencies are costing about $1,750 per day. And the testing will start this week and it goes all the way into next week. Not every single day, but different groups on different days to allow us to get all the T1, T2, T3 tests done before we can give them the home kits to carry on.
And have all the parents given permission for you to test their children?
Not all. So we've got 1,800. So far the numbers are pushing just over 900 consents. So we're still trying to push the numbers, but we have had a huge exponential increase from 200 to 900 in the space of a week. So we're hopeful that the assembly that I'm doing, the peer pressure of children talking to each other, will get more and more students coming on site to get the testing done, and that's why we've got backup plans in place.
Okay, so what are the reasons then why a parent will say no to having their child tested?
I think it's a combination, actually. It's quite a difficult question because on the one hand, you've got parents who are so desperate for the student to come in that I think there's an element of, what you don't know, don't hurt. My child's not ill, they're asymptomatic, but they might not realise that asymptomatic doesn't mean that you're not actually, carrying the virus. So they might not think it's necessary. It could be that the parents, have got jobs which may be a problem if they're cash in hand kind of labour force, because if they've got a positive case inside their homes, they'll have to isolate and they might not be able to afford to isolate, and they'd rather have no information so that they can carry on with their daily lives. So I think it's quite complex as to why you've got issues. And I think there's misinformation, there's social media, about testing and, what it means for them. And it's very difficult to try and tackle all of those just from a school perspective.
And with, less than a week to go now, with kids coming back into the school,
yeah,
what's this final week been like? I mean, have kids been keeping up with the work they need to do? Have parents been making sure that it's done and sent to you? Or has there been a bit of slacking like it's a half term?
No, they've been keeping up. No, the students have been, on the whole, absolutely brilliant. They've been very, very resilient, and they have been working incredibly hard to try and keep up with the work that's been set. They've adapted really well, and when you have the narrative in the press about the lost generation and, lost learning, etc., I don't think it actually helps because children themselves are very resilient, and we've got to give them credit, and we've got to help to keep that positivity rather than talking about the negative. And that's what our narrative is about. The heads of year work incredibly hard, the pastoral team, the inclusion team, learning support team, keeping their communications alive so that they feel part of the community and they are not sitting alone. And of course, there has been an increase in mental health and well-being issues. I'm not saying we're immune to that, but we have systems in place to help deal with them and help the students feel settled and ready to come back into school and to be able to cope with what we're having to face.
Gulbanu Kader, thank you very much for joining us this morning, Principal of Rushmead Academy off Belgrave Road in Leicester.